So in chapter 1, section 1, there's basically two main important topics they talk about. They talk about the distance formula, and so here's the formula in your book on page 36. And they also talk about the But if we're using that formula, we know that our distance equals the square root of the difference over y values. So 1 minus a negative 5 halves. And we're going to square that. So the differences over y's squared plus the difference over x values. So same order would be 5/4 minus 7 halves squared. Instead of two decimal places, we get 4.16. And I believe mine has answers on it. 4.16. Right? So we're just using that distance formula that's found on page 36. Subtract your x values, subtract your y values, square both of them, then add them together and take the square root. The midpoint formula would be the next part. So it's just adding up your x values divided by 2 and adding up your y's divided by 2. So it's finding the average of the x's and the average of the y's. So if you are to find this one with our points, we could add up our x values. So 7 halves plus 5/4, and let's divide that by 2. So I get 2.375, and then my y values would be 1 plus negative 5 halves, and divide those by 2. So these are the values that I could put in. If they want them as a fraction, ours would work. We have the exact values. They're not rounded. But again, you could always change this to 2 3/8, and this is to negative 3/4. One more that I wanted to look at was number 5. It was a little different. It was actually giving you the distances 5 between 2 points, but it gave you some unknown variable. So if we were doing one of these, so we know one of the points is 3, negative 1, and looking for the other point, but we know it has a height of 3. We could set that up using the distance form, but again, we know that the distance is 5 equals the square root of, if we did our x's first, we'd have x minus 3 squared plus 3 minus negative 1. And again, that's just plus 1, but I put it in parentheses. And so it doesn't know how to solve this, right? So what we would first have to do is we'd have to square both sides. If we did that, we'd end up with 25 equals all that stuff without the radical on the right. And let's just go ahead and say that's plus 16, right? Because that's 3 minus negative 1, so 4 squared is plus 16. And now this one will solve it for us, right? So it says x could be a 0 or a 6 to give us that. Now if this, so I want to get a distance of 5, and it says 0, 6. Now, if I look at my answers, I got those two values right there, 0 or 6. Again, if we didn't have Desmos to do this, you would probably use the quadratic formula or completing the square formula. subtract 16 to both sides, and take the square root. But again, Desmos will help us find some answers. And a couple more problems in section 1, but those should be attainable. So good luck.